Hey everyone, I'm Charting Man Dan, trader for the last 13 years, and in this video we're going to be looking at the Apple earnings reaction after hours, the financial sector and regional banks continuing to see some weakness, and the cannabis stocks are getting a bit of a bid with some news behind it. Let's look at the charts.
So starting with SPY, we're testing a key support, and we know we're being dragged down by the energy sector and the financial sector. 403.78 is that low, pretty much a base at that level, but we're not going to be convinced that that level can hold unless the bulls were able to confirm an hourly uptrend, which means the high of today needs to break tomorrow for us to call that a key hold of support. And even if it does, we're then going to be watching for the possibility that it's a head and shoulders pattern forming. So the S&P 500 is obviously the weaker out of it and the NASDAQ. And looking at the weekly chart, it's looking like we have a failed weekly bull flag. And after hours right now, we've got the Apple earnings, and it's a non-event. We had an initial spike up, then a pullback. We're trading, right at the high of the day. So pretty uneventful overall. We'll see what the reaction is once we get the conference call going. If we do break the high of today tomorrow, we'll have a new daily support level. We've just been riding the uptrend, and that new key support will be 164.31. If we break 167.04 tomorrow, and we're looking up at the resistance 170.92. So still holding on overall. And again, the big question for me is, do we see tech join the weakness that we're seeing elsewhere? Or is tech going to continue to hold on strong and keep the S&P 500 from getting ugly during this banking fiasco? And we know that we're not going to see any notable significant weakness that's going to last weeks in terms of the market pulling back unless big tech pulls back as well. So I talked about that in the video yesterday, but Apple's still a solid daily uptrend. Microsoft's still strong. Have to see the daily uptrend lost there. Amazon is weaker. Bears would love to see Amazon break 101.15 to confirm this little head and shoulders here. So it's definitely possible and going to be ready for if that shift does take place as far as being more bearish on a daily basis. But for now, just sticking with where the focus is, clearly bearish in the financial sector, and then there's little pockets of bullish action, whether it's the crypto stocks, whether it is some of these tech names, but that's where I'm approaching the market right now. There are times where everything's doing the same thing, and you can just say the S&P 500 is doing what all these sectors are doing, but that is certainly not in this market environment. So NASDAQ is still holding on stronger than the S&P 500. We're watching for anything over 309.89 to be a daily higher low. But we need an hourly trend change to the bulls if a daily higher low is going to be set. Until then, we're just going to be watching the hourly downtrend as our guide. And the burden is on bulls. Well, we're in the middle of the range. Again, it can definitely go either way. The burden is on bulls to set a daily higher low. So the bears have had control for a few days now, and it's looking like we're going to need Apple bulls to respond well to the conference call if the NASDAQ is going to be shaping up a daily higher low. You can see we spiked right up to resistance and rejected there in extended hours. The cannabis sector is starting to get my attention. So I mentioned TLRY in the video yesterday, and because we had the first confirmed daily uptrend in over a month, and we had some news drop. Essentially, we're watching to see if the Safe Banking Act is going to get voted on, and it's been a dangling carrot for over a year at this point, and we're just getting a headline today. You can see the spike up. The headline was, there's a date. We're expecting to have a hearing on this in mid-May. So every time we get a little headline about it, we've been getting these spikes up in response, but they have been fading. After that initial surge of buying and shorts covering, they then fade. And so we have to see the sustained buying pressure. I need to see TLRY over 277. The goal for the bulls is to put as many bears underwater as possible because the bears have had it easy street shorting the weakest sector in the market right now. And so you have to get over 277 to be able to say anybody that has shorted this name in the last 2 months is now underwater. But if 277 remains resistance, then we stay in a weekly downtrend. Testing weekly EMA 12 again, and that has been rejecting the price for the entire year. So is this going to be just another lower high rejection into continuation downwards, or is there enough fundamental momentum behind this that the bulls can put some pressure on the bears. On the US side of things, MSOS, big spike as well. Again, the volume is there. Bears in absolute full control, but bulls trying to put in a bit of a bottom. 604 and 608, now a double top rejection as far as I'm concerned. And if we get over that level convincingly, that will be our first daily uptrend in a while. Keeping in mind, that means we just zoom out and watch the lower high on the weekly time frame at 725. So again, there's a ton of work for the bulls to do, but as I mentioned in the video yesterday, it's definitely keeping an eye on this sector, knowing that we will see a shift, we will see shorts have to cover, and we will likely see 100% plus bounce off the lows eventually. It's just a question of, is that this time or not? I do have a TLRY position. I talked about it on Twitter as far as the entry I made this morning. And the reason for the entry was the daily uptrend confirming and relative strength first thing. So I just made an entry knowing I wasn't going to be at the computer for a good part of the day. And in at 241, set my stop under the low of the day. And then when we rejected from the high of yesterday, I did exit half of that position. But going to stick around with that half position and probably just stick a break-even stop. If we were to drop back down to 240, that would be a bit of a red flag for me. So that's going to be my approach, and then I'll just day trade around that core position. But definitely paying more attention to the sector with these volume spikes and just knowing how many bears there are out there and the possibility that they are going to be forced to cover eventually. Semiconductors trying to set the daily high or low, anything above 237.14. Again, we've got to confirm an hourly uptrend because we've been in an hourly downtrend for the last 3 days at this point. You need the higher low and higher high. And so it looks like we have a bit of weakness here after hours. NVDA, not really seeing that weakness after hours. So NVDA looking for the daily higher low as well. So burden on bulls, set that daily higher low. Same situation as the NASDAQ. Tesla getting tight. We know Tesla volatility is coming here, whether it's going to be tomorrow or Monday. There's a wall of resistance just over 165, and there's a little base of support in the 158s. You can see we've been trading within this range essentially for the last 4.5 days, and one of these two levels is going to break either tomorrow or Monday. A break of 165, you got to ensure that you get over 165.49 for this daily bounce to see a bit of follow through. And on a bear break, bears don't really have much proving to do. If you break support at 158.83, we're going to be looking right back at that low. So it's the bulls that need follow through because we are in downtrends on the monthly, weekly, and daily time frame right now. Financial sector is staying weak at the moment. We do have a lower wick. Same thing, we've got to confirm an hourly uptrend if the bulls are going to prove any kind of momentum shift to us. Bigger picture, we're looking at our weekly support down at 30.39 that is coming closer and closer into play. If that level were to break, we would be looking right back at our fear lows from mid-2022. And we look at KRE and the regional banks. Again, right after I made the video yesterday, we had PACW back in the headlines as far as looking for a sale. They dumped 50% plus after hours. And so they're crushed. This is the next one potentially on death's door. And there are a number that are being hit in response to that. Zion is another one. But what I'm looking at is the volume and keeping an eye out for a temporary bottom on a volume climax. Just like the last time, we have comparable volume today to the last time around. And KRE has more volume today than the last time around. So the play is still with the bears in this sector, and we will just be looking for a daily lower high to be the result of a daily bounce. But as I keep mentioning, the market will oversell this sector. Everybody will be short. Nobody that's long will be left to sell, and we will see notable bounces off the lows. That being said, that doesn't mean we can't drop another 30% first. So it's certainly not a spot where I'm comfortable, scaling into a long and looking at swing trade positions, but I have been playing some of these bounces. I mean, we've had great volatility in both directions. You look at a name like Zion, which this is the first week I've ever traded it, but there's plenty of opportunity for both directions. We had a bounce we had on Wednesday, no, that was Tuesday, we had a drop of 23%. We then bounced over 20%. And then on Thursday, after hours, into the close and after hours, we dropped 23%. Then today we bounce 18%. So you get the idea. You just got to use stops because we had news come out today. One of the banks saying, whatever rumors of a buyout are false. I forget which bank put out that headline, but it was enough to give a little mini short squeeze here. So you've got to use stops in both directions because with this volatility, a headline can see a very significant percentage move. But it's great for trading. I love the volatility for day trading, and I am keeping an eye out for a longer-term bottom. And by longer-term bottom, I mean looking for a bottom where we're going to bounce for months. There is no sign of that whatsoever at this point, but I'm very confident that eventually there will be. So day trading it in both directions, but eventually going to be looking for a long, anticipating that we will see this sector oversold. The question is how many more leaks are going to spring in the boat first, and I don't have that answer. So I patiently watch and observe. The healthcare sector pulling back, clear daily lower high is now set. So this is our daily downtrend guide. The bulls would have to hold 130.62 and break 134.85 if they were going to prove anything to us. And the bears are hoping to break that support to continue this daily downtrend and to see this weekly retracement increase in size. But right now, the healthcare sector is still holding on as one of the better sectors for the bulls. We got IWM still weak, lower highs and lower lows, and looking down at 167.46, which is our recent low from the last bunch of months, and that is back in play. So IWM bears have been keeping their full control. ARKK did see some green today, earnings after hours. I'm probably going to stop out of this short, still in a third remaining short, and if 36.15 breaks, I'll be out. So that's potentially on the table tomorrow. The biotech sector staying strong, inside bar today. Clear little double top at 84.45, but overall keeping the hourly uptrend intact. We'll see how long the bulls are able to maintain that. Biotech sector is definitely on the bull side of things. MARA is our lead crypto bull, and right now Coin has a bullish reaction to earnings after hours. Coin is trading up at 53, so the daily bounce is likely underway for Coin, keeping in mind that there's a lot of space for a daily lower high to be the result of this bounce. Riot continues to be much weaker than MARA, has not set a convincing higher low yet, where MARA has. So a really nice tightening range, and 1065 resistance is coming into play. We do have earnings on Riot and MARA next week. I hope that we reject from resistance and tighten up a bit more, and then we break pre-earnings, but we'll see. So again, when I'm trading the crypto sector, I'm looking at MARA if I'm looking for bull trades, and I'm looking at, well, now that Coin had earnings, it'll probably just be Riot that I keep an eye on for any potential bear trades. The dollar is still holding our base of support. So keeping a close eye on it, the bulls would have to get back over 102.41 to convincingly hold this base. The metals still performing well. Silver, the weekly bull flag is on the verge of confirming. We're testing it right now. Gold already confirmed it. Bit of an upper wick, but still hanging on overall. So just full control for the bulls, and we've got gold testing the all-time high right now. And the miners, GDX, also confirming the weekly bull flag. And it was automated buying today. When you see this, that is automated buying. Zero consolidation, just straight up. And so we're going to look for an hourly higher low in the miners. Bottom line is gold, silver, miners are definitely on the bull side of things. We can just compartmentalize things in your brain. At least that's how I find things to be much easier. Again, bear side, energy, financial sector, IWM, most growth names, regional banks. Strength side, QQQ is trying to hang on. We have those lead bulls trying to hang on. Healthcare trying to hang on. Gold, silver, Bitcoin still hanging on. Potential weekly bull flag still on the table, so the crypto stocks as well. And the biotech sector, they will shift. They'll change teams. Individual sectors will change teams eventually, but for now, that's nice and clear with where we stand. We have oil dumping. Look at oil's drop today. We had a 5-minute candle that dropped down something like 6%. A bit wild. Remember when oil was zero? Anyways, we gave back the entire weekly bounce here. Broke 64.58 to get to the lowest level in many months. And certainly a big bounce off that quick flash little mini crash there. Have to see the bulls confirm a daily uptrend if anything is going to shift. We will just be looking for a daily lower high to be the result of the next bounce. And there is definitely a correlation between the energy sector and oil and the financial sector as well. You look at XLE, did not see that long lower wick, but it also did not have that little flash crash. So energy sector bears still in full control with the hourly downtrend as our guide. And natural gas bears still in full control. Again, we have not had a clear daily uptrend confirm in over 5 months, and here we are heading back to test the lows of 190. If we break the lows with no follow through, I'll be interested in a long, but otherwise, just watching the weekly downtrend as a guide, and it is still full bear control at this point. So that is where we stand. Again, most of the fundamentals are out of the way for now. Of course, new banking headlines is what we're going to be watching for, but Apple earnings out of the way here, FOMC out of the way. I'm sure we got new CPI coming at some point soon, but overall, it's now down to the technicals and close to seeing broader market weakness, but the big tech names have to roll over and join Team Bear if we're going to see any notable follow through. The VIX had a big spike today. Look at the VIX, look at the weekly RSI, and go back and look at the last 13 years and look at where do we bounce each time, because it happened again right at 38.39, and that is a great historical RSI level. So we'll see if that materializes into something more significant. Certainly the RSI has cooled off significantly at this point, but that has me paying attention to that RSI level, certainly in the future, now that we're bouncing yet again. Also watching TLT, which was very tight, broke bear with no follow through. So it's chopping around, watching to see if TLT can get over the 108's wall of resistance. And that is where we stand, one day at a time. One day at a time. That is my approach. New information every single day. And tomorrow we're going to get information on how is the market digesting Apple earnings. We're seeing a bit of that after hours, but it's going to be a whole lot more volume tomorrow, regular trading hours. I appreciate you watching. Do good things. Have a great weekend.
Quick garden check-ins. So we've got in this bed some self-seeded poppies and the asparagus. Planted a bunch of flower seeds around here as well. Flower seeds in that bed. Flower transplants. Volunteer leek. More flower seeds. These are beets and onions, and that's some self-seeded mustard greens. Peas along the fence, climbing up some chicken wire. We got lettuce, kale, collards, carrots. I plant them this close together and then thin them out and leave the strongest ones. When you only have a few plants, all the bugs gravitate to just a few plants and they do a lot more damage. When you've got a sea of plants, it doesn't really have much impact. You can see there's some nibbles out of these, but those will be the ones that I pull, and the ones that are perfect will be the ones that remain. Flowers, these are edible. Anise hyssop. Volunteer potatoes, volunteer kale from over the winter. These potatoes need hilling. I'm going to do that after I record the market video. Pretty much just have to put soil up around the base maybe 3 times throughout the summer to ensure that the potatoes remain covered, because any potatoes that get sunlight on them, you can't eat them. Uh-oh. My yarn got wet. Or twine. The garlic's looking good. Planted some leeks in there as well. They haven't really come up. And holding off on weeding. Pretty much just going to take a hoe to all of these paths and then cover it with the fresh mulch. But holding out until everything blooms, or not blooms, until everything sprouts from seeds. And also there's some bunnies that live in the bushes around here and they eat all these weeds. And same concept, if I get rid of all the weeds, they're going to start eating all the stuff that I want to eat.